Welcome everyone to our show. For this episode, I have my guest here. He was an All-American at the University of Miami, the real you. Sorry to all my relatives here, and I know I'm in, Ute country right now, but it is what it is. We're talking the real you, University of Miami, baby, the Hurricanes. So he was an All-American at the University of Miami. He is in the University of Miami Hurricanes Hall of Fame. At the University of Miami, he did his bachelor's degree in biology with a minor in chemistry. And after he was the first-round draft pick of the New York Jets in 1973, he later was a full-time starter on the 1980 Super Bowl champion Oakland Raiders. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest, again, Congressman Burgess Owens.
Man, it's so good to see you again, my friend. We go way back.
Yep.
Way back to Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Yep.
And you guys were little ones at that time. So
yep.
it says a lot. And I have so much respect for your family. Your dad is a great friend of mine. And I know I think he's in South Africa.
South Africa, Johannesburg.
Yeah, and he's staying in touch. And he let me know that you're doing your deal here. So I'm excited about talking with you.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Really appreciate it. So, Burgess Owens, I want to start with, again, as we talked about, you were a full-time starter on the 1980 Oakland Raiders, the Super Bowl champion Oakland Raiders. They beat my Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. But yeah,
and you weren't around when that happened.
I wasn't born.
Just so you know, you're taking it personally, but it would not, and at that point, not even a thought.
Yeah, with that, I wasn't even a thought in the world. But with that said, as Eagles fans, we take everything personally, and we always choke. This was an amazing team. But yeah, let's talk about that if that's okay. What was it like to be I know this was your first year on the Raiders, right?
It was, and it's a pretty good voice of Al Davis. Not a bad deal.
Thank you.
Oakland Raiders. I tell you, I tell the story of the Raiders in a couple ways. Number one, it was a place that so many young people don't realize there was a culture that Al Davis has set up, very unique, and it was because he was there for one reason, and it was this old school American, I just want to win. He was all about merit. When they said, just win, baby, literally those three words said everything about the culture of Al Davis. The other part of that is it was like the American dream. What that culture meant was for so many of us is a second chance. Back in the day when the NFL was very straight-laced, if you two rank bunkers, too crazy, too outside the rim, you just wouldn't land any place if you had a bad reputation. Those are the guys that Al Davis went for.
Yeah, that was their reputation, the renegade outfit, and they would take people, all the cast-offs.
If you're too old, two rank bunkers, too crazy, too wild for any other team, Al will give you a shot. So that's the second chance concept when you think about America, what we're all about. We all just want to say, we made mistakes. I might not have fit here. I wish I had another chance. By the time the guys got to the Raiders, that second chance was something we all appreciated. So not only did we realize we can be here, we can be ourselves, we can just go out there. As long as we can put on the field and act and respond and win, then we're going to be accepted. So there's another part of that the saying is that Al came through that period. Once a Raider, always a Raider. And that's because when you get there, it's a special feeling. Many guys have played with other teams afterwards or before, but they always kind of point to themselves as at some point being part of that Al Davis Raider team. So that was by the way, that was my 13th season. When I counted up, my last year in high school was a losing season, terrible losing season. 4 years with the Jets. 4 years with the University of Miami, and yes, they were the original U. But we were not winning those days. So 4 years of losing with the Raiders.
It was before the famous 80s decades with Schellenberger and Jimmy Johnson.
Before it was changed. Matter of fact, a little bit after I left the Raiders, went to the NFL, they would think about stopping the program. That's how bad the program was. Wow. So we're talking about losing seasons and sometimes embarrassing losing seasons. And then going to the Jets, and the Jets 40 years ago was doing exactly what the Jets are doing today, all hype.
Yeah.
And very disappointed with the fans. So with those 12 years, the Raiders was that 1 year, the 13th, that was able to finally kind of feel what it was winning. It was a good feeling, to say the least.
That's awesome. Now, you were a starting safety. I know that, in your division rival, the really tough team at the time was the San Diego Chargers, correct? Yep. With Dan Fouts and Kellen Winslow.
Yep.
And I know that, you guys were the first wild card team that year to ever win the Super Bowl, and the Chargers won the division. But you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, even though they won the division, you guys swept them, correct? And then you beat them in the playoffs in the AFC Championship game.
Well, what it was going into that year, it was one off. We had we played the Chargers twice.
So the
first one we lost. The second one we won. So the playoff, which was the last game to get into the Super Bowl, was against the Chargers, and we felt that was going to be the big game. It really was.
Yeah.
Because it was just such a good competition.
Yeah.
The thing about the Chargers in those days, if you understand again, the Chargers were very finesse. They were air Coryell. They were really good at getting the pass out there.
Yeah.
Raiders was intimidating. It was the hitters. And we felt we had the right kind of mindset, the right kind of aggression that can slow down a good passing team, and that's what we were able to do that game. So it was in the days where teams had personalities. Landon.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, today a lot of fans don't get a chance to experience that. The Raiders had a culture. The Dallas Cowboys, All-American team. You had the Steel Curtain.
Yeah.
These are all teams before your time, and I'm really impressed the fact you understand and remember these guys or know about them. But every team had a little bit. The Dolphins during that era was a really good team also. So it was kind of nice for fans. And this was before the idea of free agency. So what fans had a chance to do is they see the teams grow up.
You really got to attach the players because they didn't move as often.
They didn't move
at all.
They didn't move that often. Pretty much, you had a good player. You kept them. He had no place else to go. But also, the fans had a chance to see a team kind of grow with new people coming on, staying with it, and there was another connection with fans and the community because we stayed there. We felt we had to do jobs during the off season. So we stayed there, and we kind of fell in love with the community, and that also brought a different factor to the process for sure.
That's really awesome. If you don't mind me asking, with all these famous, crazy Raiders, I'm wondering if you have any, original stories. Like, let's say John Matuzak, the Twos. Do you have any, crazy stories about him? Because he's famous.
I'll tell you how, just to give an idea of how the culture worked, and internally even. We were the one team that had nicknames. We had nicknames for guys based on the personality, based on how they played. And I don't remember any other team doing that. So I'm going to give you a couple of nicknames to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. And this will give you also an idea of how we played and what we prioritized, what we want to be remembered as. So keep this in mind as I go through these names. There was the Ghost, the Assassin, Dr. Death, Spike, Killer, Mad Dog, Stickum. Now let me see. And here's a good one. Kickum. Kickum was our linebacker, Ted Hendricks, and he got his nickname because we were playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. There was a guy that was laying on the field, one of the opponents laying on the field, and Ted decided for some reason to go over and kick him in the head.
Wow.
So I know it's crazy. From that point on, we started calling him Kickum. And
let me ask you, he was also called the Mad Stork, correct?
Yeah, it was Mad Stork.
Where did you get that from?
That was from the University of Miami. When he came out of Miami, he's very linky. I'll tell you, Ted Hendricks was one of, by the way, I'm going to finish that story first.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
So you have all those names, those nicknames. At the end of my third year, I finally had a chance to get a nickname because it takes a lot of hard work, consistent, make some plays every now and then, but you come up finally with somebody, in this case here it was Cliff Branch and Lester Hayes. So they started calling me this, and so I finally got a nickname. That nickname was number 44. So you see, it's a little bit different than the rest of the guys. But to go back to Ted Hendricks, Ted was probably one of the smartest players I've ever played against. He was a genius. I think his degree was in math. So he was a guy that can take a look at look at the formation, look at the play, think about the down, and actually he was the only player given opportunity to be able to flow where he thought the play might go. So if you ever look back on those old days, you see him start off one place and he'll just move around the line. And I don't think anybody else could do that. So if you wonder why he's a true all-pro Hall of Famer, I don't think there's going to be another linebacker like. And he's very linky, so it didn't look like the linebacker that you would normally think of that's that's going to sit there in the middle and just knock things off. But it was an honor to me that last year to get to a team that I can remember, and I was always a very loyal Jet. I mean, when I get on a team, I'm all in. I put everything into it. I'm proud of it. I remember being in New York playing against the Raiders. And this was, I think, the year before I was traded to the Raiders. And I remember looking across the field and for the first time thinking in my mind, boy, I wish I was with those guys.
Wow.
Because they were having fun,
yeah.
they were winning, and they had personalities that were, like I just mentioned, all those crazy personalities that we had already had respect for. So Ted, Jim Plunkett, Lyle Zato, I'm going through some old names, Marcus Allen, Stickum, which was Lester Hayes.
Yeah.
He was the guy that we had this tar we used to put on our fingers.
Yeah.
And it was actually outlawed because Lester used so much of it. It got crazy.
Yeah.
But it was one of those high moments. I think we all have a time in history in our lifetime where you say everything we've gone through was worth it. When I go back to that 13th story a little while ago, 12 years of losing to finally get to the 13th, we all have that opportunity. We all get to that point where we say, okay, my goodness, I'm so glad I'm doing what I'm doing right now. It's so well worth it. But all the things we had to go through before is what gave us that opportunity to get there. And many of it is just some hard introspective, looking at what I need to do, what I need to change, how can I be happier? And all that gets you to where that 13th season comes and you say, wow, this is kind of cool. So that was it was for me. The Raiders was after all the years of losing, of hard work, of being an eternal optimist that this next year is going to be better. It has to be better, to finally get to where it got better. And I'm still talking about it 40 years later. So
that is amazing. That's so amazing, Mr. Owens. Let me ask you, I didn't realize Ted Hendricks went to University of Miami. Did you guys overlap there or no?
We missed each other by 4 years.
Okay, so he's older than you?
So my freshman year, at that time, I think it was with the Colts. Because he went to the Colts first.
So he's about 4 years older.
Ted's another example of second chances.
Yeah.
I think he went to the Colts, then the Green Bay Packers. Here we're now talking about him. Everybody thinks of him as a Raider.
Yeah.
So excuse me. So I remember as a freshman, because it was a big deal. You come to in those days, and NFL wasn't what it is today. It wasn't something that you start off as a kid thinking, one day I'm going to be in the NFL. In those days, for many of us, is one day I'll find a place to play football to get a scholarship so I can at least get my degree. That's kind of where most of us felt. So those who did get to the NFL were even a little bit on a higher scale. So I remember Ted coming back. It must have been his freshman year, his rookie year in NFL, my freshman year at Miami. And he was just on the field. And everybody knew that Ted was there. And I didn't talk to him, I don't think, at all at that time. But it was a real honor and a pleasure to be with a team like that. And there's a brotherhood. Anytime you're in sports, there's always that factor. I have still a brotherhood with many of my high school teammates. Now that we're on this social media, we can kind of connect a little bit. Yeah. But there's something about when you go through the process we did as underdogs from the beginning of our season to get to the Super Bowl as underdogs, being the first wild card team to win. And seeing the personalities, the relationships we had to build. I think of one of my very good friends, my strong safety, Mike Davis. Mike and I didn't get along when I first got there because I was taking the place of the assassin, Jack Tatum. I was taking Jack's spot. And then the guys, they like Jack. I like Jack.
Yeah.
So there was not that, you had to kind of earn that respect to a degree. And I remember getting to the point where we were not getting along too well. Little sniping marks from Mike every now and then. So I asked Mike let's just take, after practice, after film, let's take a walk down the field and just talk. And so we walked 100 yards down the field. We're the only ones just talking. And at the end of the day, I said, Mike, I'm here to make the team. I'm here to win. And I think he respected the fact that I took that time out. And we became the very best of friends.
Wow.
And it goes to really life. If you have these good conversations, sometimes it might not be easy to have, might not be comfortable. The other side of that is a whole different connection. And we need to take advantage of that as often as we can. and know that we can be the instigator to those kind of relationships. We have the courage to do so.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Let me ask you. So, again, you're the first-round draft pick of the New York Jets in '73, correct?
Yeah.
So that means your senior year in 1972 with the University of Miami, and at the end of that football season, the Miami Dolphins go undefeated, and so. I'm interested, was that a big deal for you? I mean, you were at the University of Miami, you were in college, and then the very next year, you're drafted by the New York Jets, who are in the same division as the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And so you're playing against, the defending undefeated champs, twice that year because they're in your division. And they end up winning the Super Bowl again in '73. So, yeah, I'm just interested, were you guys paying much attention as college kids to the 72 Dolphins?
It's interesting. I've always enjoyed sports, but also have enjoyed it in the lane that I'm in. So I never really got so much into the pros because I wasn't thinking about being a pro. That wasn't why I was there. We were talking about it a little before we get started. My goal at that time was just to get a scholarship so I can get a degree. If I get a degree, then I'm going to head in this particular direction. So it's not that I kept up a lot with the NFL at that time. It was more colleges, guys that, and in those days, we didn't have, what is it called now? They have these opportunities where folks come in and they get looked at, the kids.
The recruiting?
Yeah. I'll think about it in a minute. But they go and they actually train, or there's a word for it that is now a very normal part of it. In those days, we didn't have that opportunity. We didn't come together and run the 40 and do our jumps and kind of be shown how the scouts can all see us at one time. What we would do in old days was we play in all-star teams. So if you play in enough all-star teams, you get a chance for the scouts to see you. In my case, because Miami was independent, we had the opportunity to get some of the best teams because we were not in a division. So when I would come in the beginning of every year and I see some of the best teams in the country and I'd be so impressed, Alabama, Texas. You go through it. And it was always impressed until I realized I got to play these guys. But the upside of that, with these best teams, while scouts would come to see those guys, they'd have the chance to see us because we played against them.
Sure.
So that was the benefit. Even though we were losing every year, might have won 2 or 3 games a season, they had a chance to see the talent that Miami brought. And I don't know if you remember the name Chuck Foreman. Chuck was a running back.
Vikings?
He was with the Vikings, exactly. Chuck was in the first round. He was chosen 12th. I was chosen 13th from the same Miami team.
Wow.
And we played in several all-star teams together.
Wow.
North, South, East, West. I mean, you go through the process. So that's kind of how it worked out. And I would say I probably didn't really get focused on the NFL teams until I started really playing against them. And then I kind of stopped watching college like I used to in the days. So I've been very focused to a degree with that for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you said, you kind of focus on your lane. So, again.
Can I say one other thing too?
Yeah, please.
I had made a decision when I got to college. Again, I was there to get a degree. My last year in high school was a terrible season. All the scholarships I was offered the year before, I had a very good junior year. I was running back at the time. All those began to drop off because I got hurt. My team, God of our key players got hurt, and the expectations went down very fast. So the only reason I got to Miami was I knew I wanted to go to Miami because of my degree. I wanted to be a marine biologist, and so I asked my coach to send some films down to. Now this is my junior year. Send some films down to Miami. And unbeknownst to me, he spliced a game, my best game of my entire high school career, my junior year. He spliced that film out, and he put it in my senior films. And so when Miami got the films, they thought it was the latest and greatest, Burgess Owens. And so that's what got me down to Miami. And it was a very, very good start. It was a very fortuitous opportunity for me, of course, and I was able to move on from there. So.
That's really amazing. So I didn't realize you had the interest in being a marine biologist, and that makes all the more sense that you specifically wanted to go to Miami. I'm sure they had great opportunities. On the coast by the ocean. and doing things for marine biology in particular.
It was that, and the other thing, Heavenly Father has a perfect plan. The year before this, we had a very cold winter in Tallahassee, Florida. That's where I grew up, right there at the top of Florida.
Oh, you're from Tallahassee?
Tallahassee.
Oh, okay.
It got 32 degrees. To me, that was freezing. That was crazy. And I remember thinking, I'll never go any further north than here. I got to go south.
Yeah.
So you put all that together.
Yeah.
Miami was a perfect fit
Yeah.
for me.
That's
and,
awesome.
and it worked out. And I'll say this. What I've kind of learned over time, the older I've gotten, is you look back on your history, you look back on the lane that got you where you are. As long as you're feeling that where you are is a good place, that you feel blessed, even if you might not be going through perfect times, you look at the blessings, you realize that everything that's happened to get you there has been a part of that perfect plan. If every year can be the very best you can make it as a 13th season, that's find a way that you see the benefits out of what's happening. Even though you might be kind of going through it, you see that even that's a great opportunity to grow. And I think that's actually the way I see everything that happened, whether that cold winter in Tallahassee, whether the terrible season I had my senior year so I didn't have any other options, whether Miami was a place that happened to be looking for a good athlete, and at the time there was only three black athletes at the time. I didn't say it was four of us. When I got there, it was Chuck Foreman, Ray Bellamy, Tom Sullivan, and myself. So 4 black athletes, and we led the entire South in black athletes. That was during that era of integrating.
Yeah.
And Miami was determined. They had a remarkable president, President Stanford, and he was determined to lead the South in breaking down these walls. And so all that plays a part, and I'm just thankful I grew up at the time I did to have all these opportunities, and to also, I'll just we'll say a little bit off the topic of sports, also to see how far our country has come. So much of being a proud American is not only understanding the foundation we have, the opportunities we have, but seeing that we truly are a country that believes in the concept of becoming a more perfect union. And from where I grew up in the 60s, segregated South, not being exposed to white Americans until I was 16 years old, to have a chance to be part of a high school team that was integrating, and to go through that process of realizing we can maybe get through seeing each other from outside in and see each other from inside out. And that's the relationship I have with a lot of those guys today. We're glad we went through it together. But the point being, the more we can see the journey, to see how far we've come, the prouder we are to be Americans. And I'm just thankful that I grew up during that period to have navigated that, to say, this is a place, no matter who you are, this is definitely a place to make good things happen.
That is amazing. Let me ask you, if you don't mind me asking again. So you're a rookie on the New York Jets. So you're in the AFC East. So you're playing against the Miami Dolphins twice every year, including that year, your rookie year. And again, in that 73 season, they go back and win the Super Bowl again. What was it like playing against them? Larry Zonka and Paul Warfield and these
Mercury
guys.
Morris.
Yeah, Mercury Morris.
It's interesting because, first of all, just remember we lost every time.
Yeah. Okay.
So the question was, how good they feel about playing us twice a year?
Sure. Yeah.
But to that point, see, I ended up. I was a cornerback when I got. I was a running back the first year. Chuck and I were in the same running back as a freshman, and they put both of us as corners our sophomore years. And I ended up standing there. Chuck told him, if you don't put me back to my running back, I'm going to go to another school, because he had that clout. So, but what was interesting is that we had a chance to play against the Dolphins. In those days, believe it or not, they had all-star teams. It was the last all-star team of the year, or before we got into the season. All-star teams would play against the Super Bowl championship team. So you have these college kids. It was in Chicago, college all-stars, and our last game before going to camp was against the Super Bowl championship.
Really?
Yeah. So we played against the Dolphins, and
Sorry. So I understand.
I know
this.
it makes no sense, does it?
No, but this is amazing. I've never even heard of this, and I'm glad you're telling me about it. So to make sure I understand completely, so it was a regular thing. year by year, where at the end of the year, they would get together like a college all-star team, so kind of like the best college players at each position, kind of put together like a Pro Bowl college team, and they would play against whoever just won the Super Bowl.
There we go.
Wow. That is amazing.
Well, you think about that. Nowadays, you would never do that because what happens, like what happened to my teammate, Robert Woods was also, he's from Tennessee. He ended up going to the Jets off second round draft choice. And Robert got hurt. He got hurt. He hurt his back, and for first part of the season, first part of his years, he had to deal with that. So I think they finally realized it's not a smart move.
Yeah, the injuries are always going to be an issue. And let me ask you this, with that said, even by the time my dad, who's about 10 years younger than you, even by the time my dad got to the NFL in his first 2 years, he went to the Pro Bowl. Even by the mid-'80s, the Pro Bowl, for the most part, wasn't taken that seriously in terms of like who won. Yeah. It was kind of just like, it's a big deal to go to the Pro Bowl. We'll play this game, but everyone's just very conscious about not getting hurt. Yeah. There's certain rules where, at least maybe it was by the time I was watching 15 years after that, but like there's rules. I don't think there's, by the time the 2000s came along, you couldn't blitz. There's no line stunts. It's not a game that's taken seriously like, oh, we want to win. Well, is that how this game was, or were they people trying to win?
No, we were trying to win for sure. I mean,
right.
See, that what you just mentioned is a growth process of realizing what's really important. Yeah. And I do remember with the Super Bowl championship, Dolphins, they weren't as excited about it as we were.
Right. As college kids, you're thinking this is our shot. We beat the Super Bowl champs. But if you were to guess, would you think the Super Bowl champs were thinking we don't want to get hurt?
Well, and it's smart because keep in mind, when this game's done with, we're now going to camp. We're now going to preseason camp. So everybody's now is getting ready to go to camp and get ready for the season. And the last thing any player wants to do is get hurt on a game that doesn't really matter to anybody. Yeah. And I don't even know if the Dolphins got paid a whole lot for that deal. It was just the way the NFL was building themselves. And you have to give credit for the vision of the NFL. Yeah. They look for any opportunity to get eyes on. Yeah. And you have all these all-star teams, all these all-star players. These are players from different colleges across the country, different states, and they're going against a Super Bowl championship team. Yeah. Think about how many people are going to turn that on to watch it. Of
course. It's a genius idea. I mean, again, I think whenever they stopped it, I have no idea when they stopped that, but whenever they did stop it, I'm sure the only reason they stopped it was because the issues of injuries. Yeah. Because, that would always be a big, hot ticket that people would watch.
Big one. In the old days, the pro games in Hawaii was a big deal. But what happens, the NFL can kind of see that they were moving and can get into a much better place and come up with some better ideas. They used to have, I don't want to lose this idea because this is why I brought it up.
No, keep going, please.
So I was a cornerback. I went from running back in high school to a cornerback in Miami. That's where I was an All-American cornerback. So as a cornerback, I played against Paul Warfield. I would guard Paul Warfield.
You mean in the Super Bowl?
In the Super Bowl college game.
Against the college game. Yeah. Okay, so even before you got to the Jets and were in the same division, you were already guarding him.
And that was the last, thank goodness, the last year that I had to guard, because I went from a corner. The rest of my career, I was a strong safety for 3 years with the Jets, and then my last 4 was a free safety. And I finished my last years with the Raiders as a free safety. So my last game on the corner was against Paul Warfield, and I had so much respect for Paul. He was one of the best. For those who remember the Dolphins in those days, he was just a classy guy, had great fingers, and they used to do some good things there. So that was an interesting process. Again, to the point about the NFL, they've always been. And that era of owners, they understood what their goal was, to bring patriotism, to bring a unity, a unified process so people can leave their crazy life and come just for a couple hours and be part of a team and just enjoy the process. And they did. They were one of the best to get that done. So it was interesting.
That is so amazing. The fact that I've never even heard of that game, that is so cool. So again, so you're telling me you did play in this game again as a senior, and the defending champion, 72 undefeated Dolphins.
In my last year,
Super Bowl
last game was a cornerback.
Okay, and you were guarding Paul Warfield,
and of course
as a cornerback there. Yeah, sure, of course.
I had to put that in there.
Yeah, that would be interesting if the first game they would lose after their undefeated Super Bowl season was to the college team. Yeah. I know that, it didn't take them long to lose. In 73, they lost in week 2 to the Raiders. So they're the ones that snapped the streak. But yeah, that'd be funny.
You did your homework, buddy.
Yeah, I'm a nerd about this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it was for me. It was an honor. I enjoyed it. Of course, our goal was to beat the Dolphins, but we play one game in New York and one in Miami. But again, it's just. I think there weren't but a few teams we ended up beating that first year. The last game we played, my freshman year, was against the Buffalo Bills, and that was the game. OJ needed 200 yards to break the 2,000. To break the 2,000, and the thing about that game, I remember, that was the last game of the season. Our players had no play. They were going to go home after this game. So if you saw the parking lot, the guys had the cars parked and packed in the parking lot to leave to go home when that game was over with. So you can imagine, OJ needed 200 yards. He got over 200 yards because I think most of my guys had checked out.
Oh, my gosh.
But anyway, it was an interesting way to finish off the freshman year also, my rookie year.
So that it was against the Jets, your rookie year when he got his famous 2,000 yards.
That's exactly right.
Wow, yeah. That's funny. And then, speaking of which, you same division, AFC East, Buffalo Bills. You for a long time you played against O.J. Simpson twice a year.
And he was quite an athlete. I'll say this: I was blessed at that time to play against some really big names, guys that we still remember. Zonka was one.
Yeah.
Earl Campbell, O.J. I would say the best I've ever played against though was Walter Payton. And they call it Sweetness.
Oh, I love it. So you're telling me you feel like he was the best.
And I'll tell you why. All the other guys were good, very good at what they did, but they had a certain style. When you came up to OJ was going to try to get around you. He's very slifty, he's very shifty, but he'll try to work around you. You look at Earl Campbell and Zonka, they're going to try to run over you. So you have to try to grab a leg and hold on. When you came to Walter Payton, he could decide at the moment whether he's going to run over you or try to get around you.
So he wasn't confined to one style, is what you're saying. He was versatile.
Because he was a very physical runner. I remember he actually he broke one of a cornerback's jaw just by his stiff arm. He was such a strong stiff armor.
Against you guys, the Jets?
No, not against us.
Oh, but somewhat, yeah.
But that's the way he would run. Is sometimes he decided he wanted to be the Punisher, and sometimes he would just try to get away from. But so you had to be ready when you showed up to him. So that was, I think, again, I'm sure there's certain kind of guys like that. Barry Sanders,
sure,
was a great, elusive guy.
Yes.
Again, playing against Earl Campbell, I know how it is when he's running straight at you, and it's only you and him. There's nobody between you and him.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how you're going to do this one.
Yeah.
How you going to work this one out?
Yeah.
In this case, I grabbed the leg and waited till help came along. So that's kind of decision you have to make. But
it's amazing. Yeah, I'm a huge Walter Payton fan, so it's interesting. It's cool to hear you say that. The reason you felt Walter was the best you played against is because he was so versatile, which made him dangerous.
He was versatile. He was, in a sense, the idea of punishing, he was kind of almost a defensive player, because that was what Al Davis' style was. Not only the silver and black, he got guys who really loved to hit, and they kind of played off that. That's why you get the assassin, Dr. Death, Spike, those guys.
Yeah.
And that's the way Walter was. He had that mindset that even though he was a running back, he, based on how he just felt at the moment, he's going to just try to run over you or try to get around you. So it made you stop and try to figure out and take that chance based on how he responded.
That's amazing. Which again makes it tough for you as a defensive player to have to stop so many different things. Let me ask you. So again, from 73 to 79, you're with the New York Jets, and you're playing with the famous Joe Namath, Broadway Joe.
Yeah.
Everyone knows, these crazy stories, but, you're playing, the significant thing is you're playing with him, as a rookie 5 years after his famous, Super Bowl win. And he's already been, a famous guy for all this time. He was kind of a, heartthrob, a sex icon, among other things. What was it like, if you don't mind me asking, playing with Broadway Joe?
It's interesting because Joe brought a lot to the game in different ways. You're right. He was a little bit on the flashy side. Get to know him, he wasn't that. He's a good person, down to earth, but obviously very, very famous. So, he was able to kind of parlay that to some degree. But I'll say the biggest thing, the impact that Joe had on me just even before getting to the NFL, a good example. Back in those days, college was very conservative. We all wore black shoes until Joe Namath came. I don't know if you remember, Joe was the first to start wearing white shoes in the NFL.
I didn't know that
That's
part
right.
of it.
Yep. Yeah, he was the first one to wear white shoes.
Are you saying he was doing it in college at Alabama also? Or?
I don't know about that. I know when he got to the Raiders, that's what I got to. Many of us got to know him when we got NFL. When he got to the NFL, when he was with the Jets.
Okay.
Because he's the same guy that also wore a fur coat.
Yeah, that mink coat. Yeah.
Yeah. He got hurt, so he one game, so he just wore a fur coat. Those are the kind of things that nobody did. Nobody even thought about. So he decided. And I have a feeling it probably had to do with the Baltimore game, but he decided to start wearing white shoes. And boy, you talk about that was something we all wanted to have happen at Miami. And I think for defensive backs and running backs, we kind of make things that makes us feel faster.
Yeah.
If you have white shoes, you feel faster.
Yeah.
So the first year, my freshman year, we couldn't do it. And then the coach, head coach, kind of broke it down. Said, "Okay, guys, if you want to wear white shoes, you can do it." And for the rest of my college career, so that's one of the impacts that Joe Namath and his persona, what he was all about.
So it impacted you in that way even before you got to the Jets.
Before I got to know him.
Interesting.
So when I was drafted to the Jets, and even that was different than it is today. I found out I was drafted to the Jets. I happened to be walking past the office, the football office. Decided to go in, and when I went in, I found out I had just been drafted. So we didn't know. It wasn't like today. Everybody's sitting around the room.
Oh, it wasn't
everybody's
a big
looking
draft
at TV.
day kind of thing.
No, it wasn't. Either you're at home waiting for the call. In this case, I just happened to walk by the football office, and it was a surprise to be ranked. I know I'd done very well in the All-Star games, but no one at those days would project what round. Those days, we weren't doing that.
Wow.
So, when I was drafted. The only thing I knew about the Jets was Joe Namath. He was actually the only person that I really could say, other than Jim Brown. There was another football player with the Giants, but I can't think of his name right offhand. But so to get there was honored, to say the least. The thing about playing with Joe, though, is he was at that point of his career where it was heading in the wrong direction.
Okay.
And if you're there to win, you want to win. And the thing about the Jets is they never drafted anyone backing him up. So if he did get hurt, the guy would step up. In other words, up until his very last year, they finally got a first round, Richard Todd, who was able to step in. But up until that point, when Joe would get hurt, which he did every year, the next guy could never get us there.
They didn't have capable backups.
Oh, no, they never did.
You guys are drafting for other positions too.
And I think the goal was not to put too much pressure on Joe. Hopefully he'll make it through the season. If he can just come back and do what he did before, we'll get there. So they were building everything else, but the quarterback was not a place they were building until his very last year. I guess my second year. I think my second year, they finally got Richard Todd. And then the third year is when Joe was actually released, and I think went out to the Rams, I believe, for a season. But by that time, injuries had really taken its toll.
Especially on his knees, correct?
Very mobile on the field. I remember playing against the Giants, and he actually, for the first time, this is something that never happened. He saw an opening, so he ran for the opening, but the guys on the other side, the Giants, had enough respect for him. This was a preseason game. They did not go in and just hit him all real hard at the very end because they respected him. They respected him.
Yeah.
So it was a preseason game, so it was not worth it. But by that time, it was no question. It was time for him to move on, but it gives you also an idea how much impact he had, how much respect he had in those old days. That everything was kind of built around him.
Interesting. Now, again, when you talk about those things like the mink coat and was the Fu Manchu mustache and his famous pantyhose commercial.
I was going to say, yeah, you're all right. That was big. That was big. That was big for sure.
Well, did it feel like sometimes? Again, I know like I guess you just said, by the time you got to the Jets, it was a little bit after his heyday, and it was only headed there more and more as the years went on. But did it sometimes feel like at the Jets games it was more than a football game? It was just like a media sensation because of Joe and people.
Well, Joe always had a following, but Joe also kind of had a separate life. Joe lived in Manhattan. Most of us lived on Long Island. It worked out because, again, you think about the NFL, they're trying to get eyeballs. You want to get people looking at him.
And Joe Namath would do that.
Joe was the guy. Yeah. Joe was the guy for that. He was right for the moment.
And he would probably do that even if he was playing for the Arizona Cardinals, but he was in New York of all places.
That's the thing. Joe Namath can only happen in New York City. That's the capital, the media, and they're trying to give presence to the Jets, and Joe was the guy to get it done. Even to the commercial. There's a pantyhose commercial where they start off at his feet and they show, this pantyhose and it comes up as Joe.
Yeah.
Well, being in New York, the Jet teams did something to help us through these cold seasons. When they would actually, when it got really cold outside, we could put pantyhose on under our uniforms. Some kind of way that's supposed to help us not be as cold. I don't know if it ever worked or not, but
that is so fun. So are you saying that it was almost like it was automatically provided for you guys?
I have to believe it was almost because all the guys were using it, were wearing it.
Wow.
And it's kind of strange. It's strange to think about it, but someone felt, well, maybe this would kind of help cut the wind a little bit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the guys are wearing pantyhose.
That is so hilarious.
Another story that's not been told too often, if ever.
Yeah,
sure.
Thank you. Yeah. Did you ever participate in that? Would you wear them sometimes?
Yeah, we all did.
Like everybody else
my
did?
pantyhose and my white shoes.
That is so awesome. That is hilarious.
Sure.
So like you guys weren't paying for them. They were just provided like your other equipment.
I'm sure it was. And,
that is hilarious.
And for the company who was providing it, they got a little play out of that too.
Yeah.
So it was funny. It was a funny thing to see it, and of course, even for Joe to do it, it says a lot. They were to think outside the box. What would get attention? What would get eyeballs? What would people say that we'll never forget? Here we are, 50 years later. We're talking about the pantyhose commercial. So it's kind of crazy. For sure.
That is such an amazing story. Thank you. Yeah, it was just such a funny commercial. It's just like, if these pantyhose can make my legs look good.
Very good. That's exactly.
I've seen it. Yeah.
And the Fu Manchu, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
He actually was known for his Fu Manchu, and I think the Blade Company paid him to shave it off.
Oh.
And that
was another endorsement he got with the razors
to
shave off his famous Fu Manchu mustache.
And there was a phrase I wish I remember. It was off something like shave it off, take it all off.
That was a famous commercial too that he had. I didn't realize that.
Yep. So he was in the right place, and New York was all in. All we had to do, and they won the Super Bowl in '68, so that kind of gave them that initial plunge. He ran off the field with number one.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, in those days, players were really more into kind of a humble approach. I see a lot of things happen right now. Guys can just trip somebody up with a finger and they get up and do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
In those days, it was a very humble kind of approach. And for Joe, he did something before that Super Bowl that has never been happened before. He was sitting near the pool. They were going against the Baltimore Colts, who were ranked number one, the best in the league, whatever. And he said, "I guarantee you, we're going to win this one."
Yeah.
And that hit the papers.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yeah.
And the fact that he won it by saying, "I guarantee that." That just gave him even another height of.
Back then, that was highly brash.
Big.
Yeah,
that was very brash.
Yeah,
I mean, people have a hard time believing that something like that could be a big deal.
Yeah.
But in those days, I guarantee we're going to win. This was really a big, and then he came through.
Yeah,
so that's another part of it. So it all worked out for him for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That is amazing. I'm sure almost no one knows that you guys are all wearing pantyhose on the Jets. That is amazing.
No, I think you're right. Most people had no idea.
Yeah, thank you for that.
If you ever go back to 73, 74, just know most of the guys are wearing pantyhose under all this stuff. So
that is amazing. So let me ask you this. I believe during your time with the New York Jets in the 70s, you also overlapped at least for a time with John Riggins, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, he was a character also.
My rookie year, getting there, and that was the year that John actually, he went on a personal strike. In those days, players didn't just not show up. But he was going through a negotiating year. He decided that he was worth it. He didn't want to show up. I think he didn't really show up to the end of preseason, which is a big deal in those days. My first exposure to John Riggins, getting on the plane, he finally shows up. He has a mohawk. He has short pants. He has boots with white socks up to here. And he was just a different guy.
Yeah.
And a different personality. But I'll say one thing. I remember watching from the sideline my freshman year, because I only played with him for 1 year.
Yeah.
After my freshman year, he went off to the Redskins. But I remember watching him go up the field. He was fast. He was strong. He was smart. And he was a game changer. Even though we were not winning, he was a game changer for us too. But I remember thinking in my head, I'm so glad he's on my team, because he would run over defensive backs real easy.
Yeah.
So and it was good. It was good to see. It was good to see that he went on to the Redskins. That's what people know him as.
Sure.
Redskin.
Won the Super Bowl then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his personality, which was very good for DC. Very different, very brash, very come out of there with crazy stuff nobody had heard about before.
Yeah.
And I think it landed out for him pretty well. And I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he made it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he deserved it. I was just glad to at least have played 1 year with him.
Yeah.
Didn't make a big difference for us, but but also, obviously the Redskins, it made a big difference for them.
Yeah. So you just overlapped with him for 1 year then?
My freshman year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Again, I know you said, as a team, you guys just weren't thoroughly good enough to where he made a difference, but was he, with his crazy personality, was he kind of a big deal to it, like because it was New York City, or not necessarily because it wasn't a great team?
That's a good question. Actually, Joe kind of took up most of the oxygen.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like no matter how many personalities, it's like it all comes to Joe. Yeah.
And for the NFL, for the Jets, that's the way they had to do it.
Yeah.
He was a draw. He was across the board.
Yeah.
With John, we all knew it. He was a big player. Oh gosh, that was another another little nuance with the Jets that I think many people don't know. And I was thinking about, because I was thinking about a comment that John had made, it brought me back to this point. At the time, my freshman year, my rookie year with the Jets, we were working out of the Shea Stadium. That's where we would drive to Shea Stadium. We'd we're put on uniforms, go out in the field, and we practice. The problem that year is that the Mets had a longer season. I think they were in the playoffs, so we could only then be there on Sundays and not throughout the week. So the deal was we'd come to Shea Stadium, get dressed, get on a bus, and they take us to Rikers Island, which is a prison. If any New Yorkers hear Rikers Island, they'll get this.
Okay.
But it was known for this is a prison, and so we go through, and the gates open, the buses go through. There's a practice field, which wasn't a very nice practice field, but we practiced there. Get back on the bus,
like in the prison yard.
Inside the prison.
It's like the prison yard.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a prison yard. It was a field outside. You had the prison. So it's a field outside that.
Okay.
So but even to get to that field, you had to still go through some gates.
Right.
So
the prison gates. Yeah.
So we would do that, and it was very interesting because a lot of people don't know that part of the story. That might have been why we kept losing. We couldn't get settled anywhere. But
wow.
So that was the last year that the Jets actually played and practiced in Shea Stadium. The next year they were out on Long Island, Hofstra. We finally got a facility out there. So it kind of changed over. Quite different. You think about the NFL today, NFL back then. You look at even the workout facilities.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about the early 70s now.
Yeah.
And we had a little small facility with weights.
Yeah.
Not very impressive, but if you go to these places now, you see it's quite different.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Let me ask you, if I'm not mistaken, you drafted in 73. For at least a few years, was Buddy Ryan on the coaching staff?
Yes.
Okay. Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even think he was the defensive coordinator. Was he just the D-line coach?
No, he was actually the defensive coordinator.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so you had some significant interaction with him then.
And Buddy was truly a player's coach. There's no question. Buddy was he was tough. He was hard on his players.
Yeah.
He expected a lot.
Yeah.
But if you were to bring yourself to the level where he respected you, it was a great relationship. That's one thing about Buddy that I think even he took to the Eagles.
Yeah.
He was always known as the players' coach, and not a lot of people don't understand what that really means. But what it means is if for a guy who expects and very, very tough, if he can find that in guys, he can say, okay, I can depend on him. He's a tough guy. He'll play hard. Then that level of respect came through from Buddy. And even with the Eagles, you can see that.
Yeah. So you're saying like once you rose to what his expectations were, he was all in with you, and you were in.
And his expectations were you play hard, you be predictable, you do what we ask you to do, be a part of the team, not a distraction.
Okay.
If you did that. And it was good to see that process. He ended up being a defense coordinator for the Bears too.
Yeah, he famously probably his greatest success was that '85 Bears. He was a defensive coordinator.
And you think about Singleton,
Yeah.
all those guys around him.
Yeah.
If you talk to them, they all say the same thing.
Yeah.
So it was a personality that Buddy had. I was just very proud, to be honest with you, to have played for a coach like that.
Yeah.
Even though we weren't winning.
Yeah.
And this is, I just wanted to say this to your listeners.
Yeah, please.
The thing that I learned out of the NFL, and one of the greatest lessons, I mentioned the 12 years of losing, playing for remarkable good coaches like Buddy Ryan, having had owners like Al Davis. What I realized is that there's certain things you can control and certain things you can't. You have to be able to figure out what that is. And the things that you can't control, you recognize it, and you put all into things you can. So I would do this with the Jets. The time I played with the Jets, I can't control the score of the game at the end of the game on Sunday, but I could control when I got together with my guys, my teammates on Monday, and we looked at the film. I could control what they saw. They saw somebody who never quit, no matter how bad the scores got.
Yeah.
That to the very last second. That's the thing you can control.
Yeah.
And so what I've come to, and this is what we do in our office back in D.C. now, is a culture, a theme that we have. We cannot control the scoreboard, but we can control the hustle. And if you ever buy into the fact that hustle, effort, tenacity, onus of getting knowledge, if you can control that piece of it, then the things you can't control are going to be okay. It'll work out in the end.
Yeah.
So the only way that I learned that was going through 12 years of losing. See, everything comes back.
It's amazing.
Oh, it is. That's the way life works, though. You go back to where did I learn that? Every year of losing, I had to figure out how can I walk off the field still feeling like a winner? How can I make sure I'm going to be okay? And you make the difference by hustle, just hustle.
Yeah.
No matter how bad things get, and just go for it. So.
Oh, that is amazing. So if you don't mind me asking, again, he's obviously was less well known back then, Buddy Ryan, but the things that he later became known for in Chicago and in Philly, was he known for that? Was he kind of a controversial guy? Would he kind of pick fights with other teams? Did he sometimes pit you guys against the offense too, like he became famous for later? Or
I would say that Buddy would do what it took to get the very best, to get that that buy-in that we're going to be the toughest, we're going to be the best. We're not going to be okay with losing. So I would think that would change with the team he's in, the personalities of the team, and the position he has more charge of. I was in a position to see him as a defense coordinator, so I saw how he dealt with linebackers, with defensive backs, and how he kind of used us, and the guys that he found kind of a relationship with. And they were all pretty consistent. They just showed up. So I would think that when he got to these other different teams, you might see different iterations of that. I think I remember. Did he have a fight with somebody on the sideline?
Mike Ditka. Okay. In the '85 season when the one loss they had against the Dolphins, it stopped them from going undefeated. He got into a fist fight on the sidelines with Mike Ditka. The players had to break it up because, Dan Marino, figured out their defense and torched them. So, yeah.
It's interesting. You think about it, and Mike Ditka that's a big name too.
Yeah.
He had those personalities. I will say this, what I appreciate about the days of old that I have today, the guys, even though we were still all young, were a little bit more mature. We didn't do just crazy, brash, selfish things.
Yeah.
Those are the days in which you run a touchdown, you go back and you hand the ball back to the coach, back to the ref.
Yeah.
You don't figure out ways to blast your team if you don't like it. What we're dealing with today is so different than those days. That's why I'm glad I came through that era. Mark Gasnoff was a defensive tackle, defensive end with the Jets, known for the antics.
Yeah.
He would get a sack and he would be all over the field.
Yeah.
You know who did not like that more than anybody else?
Who?
Jets.
Huh.
The players we played with, because we just were not into that deal. Now everybody does it. Everybody, it's all about me. It's look what I just did.
Yeah.
Even if it's just tripping the guy up.
Yeah.
Got a shoelace.
Yeah.
They'll find a way to. And I would hope, probably the old saying, the cow left the barn already. That's probably something we're not going to change. It's just the way our culture is today. I'm hoping that we find a way to get back to teaching culture, character. We're kind of losing that to a degree, and character to me is just being dependable. Is when you say your teammate, you do everything you can to make sure the team wins. Of course, we all want credit. We all want to know that people respect us. But if you take your eyes off yourself, and this is what happened to the Raiders that year. The year we went to Super Bowl, it wasn't about me anymore. We were. I think most of us were so sick and tired of losing, like I was coming from the Jets.
Sure.
I just was so tired of losing. This might be a chance to finally be with guys who understood winning. They had a culture. So if I can be part of that. And that year, we got into celebrating everybody else's success. I mean, we had Lester Hayes.
Yeah.
Lester, I think, had 13 interceptions, 5 a callback. He just, because they stick him everywhere.
Yeah.
It was fun. And every one of us would celebrate every time he would get one.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate Jim Plunkett when he would get his pass in place.
Yeah.
And when we start to celebrate each other versus trying to figure out what is all about me, you get this unity that's hard to describe. It's just there. It's this idea that if I can't make the play, my teammate will. If I just hustle, even if I can't get to the play, I'm showing my teammates I will make sure that they know I'm giving everything I can. When you get that kind of culture going, which is very difficult to get because you have to get buy-in, it's a very special feeling. So I'm glad I had a chance to experience that. I'm hoping that we can figure out a way to make sure our young people are not spoiled or not destroyed, because if it comes down to it's about me, it's not about my word, it's not about the team, it's not about what I'm bringing, it's all about what can I get out of this. That carries on with life, and until you reach a point of being corrected, you're not going to change, and that correction is very painful. So you have guys that are coming out with all this money, with all this fame, with thinking that I'm really almost kind of narcissist. I'm it. This is where it begins. This is where it ends with me. At some point, that changes and that correction comes. It can be very painful, and the more money you have, the harder the fall is going to be. So you have guys making $50, $100, $150 million, and they have not learned character, have not learned to respect other folks, see other people as objects. There's going to be a correction period, and that's going to be a hard fall to take if you don't get it right. So I'm hoping to get to the point that we can do something with this NIL thing, because our college kids are being trained right now to be narcissists, self-centered, and that's not a good thing.
Interesting. If was there, you're there with Buddy Ryan earlier in the 70s. I didn't realize he was actually the defensive coordinator. Were there already shades of, what he would literally later become famous for, his highly aggressive blitzing scheme, the 46 defense? Like, was he already, emphasizing like blitzing in large numbers or anything like that when he was with you?
I didn't know enough about the total game. to see the big picture, which that's what he would see. I think on my sense, there's a personality. There's a player you learn to respect because in a sense there's almost a fear factor. And I think that's when you have true respect from leadership, there's a respect. Part of that is I don't want to be on the wrong side of this either. I don't want him not to respect me. I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So you kind of have that in your mind. And I think that's really the most important thing that any player can get from a coach is to have enough respect that you want to work for his respect. And if you do that, you'll get the best out of yourself, and he'll get the best out of all his players. And then there's a bigger picture, and that is he needs to know these personalities. He needs to know how the Mike Dickers fits into everything else, sort of like that's going on, and probably help some of these guys even more accountable. So whatever Mike did, I don't know what it was, but he was holding Mike very high accountability, and Mike didn't come through at that moment. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny. If you don't mind, given the fact that you played under, just to close it out, Buddy Ryan as a defensive coordinator, and later on Al Davis, he was the owner of the Raiders. But, how would you compare Al Davis to Buddy Ryan? Like how?
Al was one of a kind. I'll say that every now and then you have folks that you just so have such a appreciation for having been in that circle. Al was a game changer for the NFL, and I'll say in that sense a game changer for all the guys who came through that era. When you have an idea, you have a personality that is truly about winning. Period. It's all about merit. He was a game changer, a pioneer when it came down to getting the first Hispanic coach, who was a most valuable coach or Super Bowl winning coach.
Yeah.
The first Hispanic quarterback, most valuable. The first black quarterback ranked been drafted number 1. The first female chief executive. The first black coach. I mean, I'll go through the list.
Yeah.
What does it all point out to is about winning. It didn't care about the rest of it. And that also made him a maverick with the rest of the owners.
Yeah.
Al was a guy that didn't really care that he fit into that circle. And he and Pete Rozelle was always clashing.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Al decided he wanted to move from Oakland because he realized there was a cap in terms of the income he could make,
Yeah.
the NFL said, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Not unless we let you do that. He said, no, this is my team. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So it changed everything.
Yeah.
He ended up taking the court, winning the court. And from that point on, the freedom to move your team was all a part now what we see.
Because he won that case.
He won that case.
So your very last year was with LA. They were in LA, correct?
Very, very, very good. My last year, and I want to get back to Al. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, you're fine.
But my last year, we were LA Raiders.
Yeah.
Still in Oakland though, so we're practicing in Oakland on the Oakland practice field. We'll get on a flight on Friday, fly to LA, or Saturday, fly to LA, play in LA as LA Raiders, and then fly back to Oakland.
And does that mean most of you guys were still living in Oakland?
Yeah. Oh, we were all living in Oakland that year.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize that.
My last year was an LA Raider, but I never spent any time in LA because we're in Oakland making the transition.
You just play the games
and
there,
that's the way it kind of worked. I guess the way it worked in those days. But I wanted to say this because it's so important. I think if I can point the Al Davis Raiders to what our country is about, we're very unique in terms of opportunity. We're unique with the fact that we have a chance to show merit and get rewarded for it. We have a chance to show what it is to become one, and no matter what our background is, we can kind of unite because we see the end game is to win. We had a chance to be part of a culture that when you got there, you just so appreciative because this was your second and maybe last chance. By the way, second chance in the NFL means probably your last one. All right.
Yeah.
So you think about all those guys I just talked about.
Yeah.
I can go through the list of them.
Yeah.
Tuzak was another guy.
Yeah.
You land a later. Where do you go after? You don't go anywhere after.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go through a whole litany of those guys. But it takes a certain type of genius to be that focused. And Al would not. He was not a golfer. He didn't care about that. He didn't take vacations. I think when he wanted just to kind of relax a little bit, he'd go to Vegas, not to gamble, just to be in that environment, just to be in Vegas. So there's every now and then there's a pioneer, there's a game changer, there's a standard setter that every occupation and maybe even historically, even in our country, that has. And so Al was one of a kind in that regard. And I just feel so fortunate that I had a chance to end my 10-year career, my last 3 years, as a Raider, having a chance to be a Super Bowl champion. I think that part of it has allowed me to parlay that into opportunities also down the road, more opportunities that, whether it be getting the corporate sales, whether it be to be a congressman right now, all that is part of that name recognition that kind of helps that to happen a little bit. So it was one of a kind. I'm just so glad I was there to experience it and to be able to tie that into where our country works. So that it really is. The Raider way was America at its best.
Very American.
Yeah.
I never even thought of it that way, but yeah, in a lot of ways it is. It's a place of opportunity. It's a second chance kind of a place.
And it's a brotherhood. When you're there, no matter how much time you spent, you're once a Raider, always a Raider. You have that saying. Once a Raider, always a Raider. That's part of that process too.
Let us close up, but thank you so much, Congressman Owens. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been a real honor to have you on. Thank you.
Well, it's so good to see you again.
You
we were talking
too.
about coming in 2013. That's how far back it goes. My goodness.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I'm just thankful that when it all shakes down, that I'm here in Utah. We're talking about that also. I have all my 6 kids and 18 grandkids here. And what a great place to land when I started off in a place with the same values. And so I love that fact. I was able to learn through the sports, through a great family, what it is to take advantage of this great country and to be here in Utah to represent so much of what I was raised in. It's been a real honor, to say the least. So,
thank you again, Congressman Owens, for coming on my show.
It's a pleasure, buddy. Let's do it again.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll see you.
Okay.